Good morning. I don't know what terrible things you've done in your life that karma has had you assigned to my class. This is Criminal Law 101, or what I'd like to call How to Get Away with Murder. That's the line that went out there that got me hooked from the door. Months ago, I saw this trailer for this new show that was going to be coming on ABC. How to Get Away with Murder. It's being head up by Viola Davis, who I absolutely love. If you don't know who that is, that's Viola Davis from The Help. And she was in Beautiful Creatures and just a ton of other stuff. So this is season 1 and this is episode 1. I am definitely going to be reviewing this. I loved this program. I loved it. Okay, so let's start off. Viola is actually playing Annalise Keating. She's a criminal defense attorney as well as she's a criminal law professor. Okay? She works at this here college. And as the program starts, they are actually in class. She has a ton of students. There's just a ton of them. She basically goes in. They're starting up talking about a case about the aspirin killer. There's a man who actually had gotten killed. Everybody around him knew that he was allergic to aspirin. He's been given an aspirin. It killed him. It's being pinpointed basically on the assistant. So the wife is there and they're saying the assistant did it and all of this here. So I said, all right. So they talked about that and everything like that. She basically told them in the next class, everybody's going to get like 2 minutes. I think it was 2 minutes to actually do a defense. And she was going to choose people to actually go on. It's like this contest. Because at the end of that, she's going to choose 4 people. They're going to be hired as interns to work at her law firm throughout the, what's the word that I'm looking for? Throughout the semester. Sorry. Okay, so this is what's going on. Now, they introduce a little guy named Wes Gibbons. Wes is like basically her opposite because you see a lot of him, okay? So Wes is kind of mousy. He basically is a little nervous because he actually got into her class last minute through scholarship. So he just kind of was feeling a little down on himself, and you could tell he wants to prove himself. And he was unprepared the first day for class, and she kind of chewed him because Annalise is a hot mess. She's very she's a lawyer, basically. Lawyers are very curt. They're very quick. They don't want to hear all this extra shit. They just are right to the point. That's what they do. And she's very much that way. Very much that way. So he's going through, and when he gets to class, he has a whole tablet of all these different defenses. And the key thing is you cannot repeat a defense that someone else has given. And I already told you the class is huge. It's huge. So as they're going through, people are going through their defenses, he's steadily scratching off. They're just going through his list, bumping. So when it gets down to his turn, lo and behold, everything is scratched out. He has nothing. So he gets up and he just goes off the top of his head and just comes up with something. He's like, you know what? How about we go for a self-defense or something or whatever? And he went through this whole little defense that he had, and it was literally off the top of his head. And people were literally like laughing. They're like laughing. And he says, well, I guess I'll go stand over here because all the people, you notice early on, people who she liked got to keep their seat. Everybody else had to go stand on one side of the room. He said, I'll just go stand over there. She said, no, you won't. You'll take your seat. And all of you that have seats, y'all are going to be going with me. Then she let them know it wasn't just a case file that they were going through. It was an actual case that she was working on. These people who were chosen, she was going to be taken into the courtroom with her. So it was a great opportunity. And then at the end, 4 of them are going to be chosen for the job and have that internship with her. So they go ahead and immediately they get started. They're interviewing the witnesses and this, that, thing, and the other. So 3 things that she taught them right away, and we're going to go down through it because they were actually going into the courtroom and these things were actually going. These folks were doing everything they could to find things for her for this case, so they could be chosen. You know what I mean? This is what they want to do. So the first thing, there's a girl named Michaela, a black girl named Michaela, cute little thing. She was late coming into the courtroom. She runs in and she runs up to Annalise and they're like, what the hell is she doing? And she says to her, they gave her a paper. She said something to her, gave her a paper. And here it was, the lady that was on the stand at that time that they were questioning, she was talking about, an aspirin and some medicine and that, and saying how she saw the medicine laying there, and it came down to a blue pill versus a yellow pill. Well, the information that Michaela actually had given Annalise was she had gotten hold of the woman's optometry records, and the woman was colorblind. So she didn't know blue versus pink versus yellow. So that was the first thing. First lesson that she taught them, there's 3 things that she taught them that first day of class. If you wanted to get away with murder, you got to discredit the witness. So boom, that was done. They discredited the witness. Michaela did that. Turns around, there's this other little guy whose name is Connor. Caucasian guy, kind of nice looking and everything. Well, Connor, you see him in a club, and he's basically hitting on this little Asian guy, little squirrely Asian guy. He didn't bit more like this motherfucker than the man in the moon, okay? So he kind of hit on him. Here this guy works in IT, okay? So he's basically has an attachment to these folks. And he's like, I can't talk, I really can't. He just played it all up. He went all the way as far as screwing this boy. But out of it, he got emails, okay, that he came into court and he handed them to Annalise. She's like, what did you do to get these? He said, well, it wasn't exactly legal. And she says, well, I guess we'll just have to be creative now, won't we? And that's who she is. That's the bitch that she is. I love it. I love it, okay? They go on these emails. Second thing that she taught them, you must introduce a new suspect. Those emails basically incriminated the man who had been killed, his business partner. So, boom, that's done. So, the next thing that goes on, we had a little something going on here. Wes is working, and you see Wes, they're going back and forth to Wes. Wes is literally busting his ass, okay? Trying to get something together, and then something hit him. He runs down to her office. It's after hours, but the office door's still open. So he lets himself in. He goes in, and he's looking for Professor Keating. He's going in. He goes into her office. Baby, you see the back of Viola sitting up on the desk. She's sitting up on her desk, and she's wooing and gooing and carrying on. And baby, he's like, Professor Keating. And she said, oh, she turns around, and up jumps all this chocolate. All this mussels and strumpets and whatnot. And here it is. There's this guy in there munching her box. I said, oh, Miss Viola Davis, you better stop it. So Professor Keating's in there getting her box munched. Ain't no big deal. I mean, it is what it is. But he busted him, and the guy's like, get out. She's like, whatever. So she chases him to the door because he's like running out of there. So she chases him. She's like, what is it, Wes? So he tells her what it was that he fought. She's like, no, that's no good, whatever. Because she's just a hard ass. But you could tell she was very embarrassed. She called whoever was supposed to close up the shop on the phone. Told him, you didn't close up yet again. But whatever. She was caught literally with her panties down, and they were around her motherfucking ankles, okay? But anyway, hey, I wasn't mad at her. And the guy that jumped up out of the box, I wasn't mad at him, honey. I said, okay, you go ahead with yourself, girl. So that was a mess. The next thing we actually see, there was an anniversary party that she invited all of the students to. Here at the anniversary party, it's her anniversary party. Annalise Keating is married to the other Professor Keating, who is a Caucasian man who is also a professor at the college. So you see Wes's jaw just drop. Like, yeah, buddy, you just got hold to some real information. So it got to be a real awkward night. She pulls him into a room. They get to talking. She's telling him, you know, me and my husband haven't been happy for years, this, that, thing, and the other. And she actually started crying. It was all about she was supposed to be trying to have a baby and couldn't do it. And, you know, it was just a mess. And she's like, thank you so much for keeping this a secret. Now, in that piece, I'm like, is she flirting with him? Because she was just rubbing on him. I got a little confused. She was rubbing on him, baby, as if to say, you know, if need be, you can have a little taste of this cat too, you know. But I don't know. I don't know. We got to look forward. We got to go forward with that. But it was a little suspect. I said, oh, Miss Viola's all over this, honey. I'm loving it. She gives me everything I need. She's a fucking hot, messy bitch. So they go on with that, and they move on. He run out because he just, you know, he's squirrely and ran and left. So that was that. The next thing that we actually see, there's a girl named Laurel. Laurel basically has run into some things that she has no business running into, okay? She sees, she's in the bathroom, and she happens to see the wife, the assistant, and they weren't, you know, if you killed my husband, I've been called you a bitch and tore you up in that bathroom. But she didn't. She kind of, they gave, you know, these little catty looks like, bitch. And they went on. Like, okay, so she caught that. She goes ahead on and she tells Annalise about that. And she actually talked to the business partner guy who the things were being pinned on as well. And he's kind of like, girl, go on somewhere, go on somewhere. Like, you know, they all knew was actually going, a girl, go on somewhere. Like, shutting her down. But she got the whole story, basically. She got the whole story about the wife, caught with the wife and the, you know, saying the wife and the woman seemed to be in cahoots some kind of way. But whatever. Okay, so it seems as though they were in cahoots in the beginning. And then the wife just turned on the bitch. It's like, okay, well, I'm, you know, yeah, bitch, you killed him. Whatever. So at any rate, they go on. Then there's an issue. Because it seemed like things was going to be, you know, they were going to get off. There was video footage that was turned in. Okay? And it actually showed the assistant buying aspirin the day before. So, and they zoomed in on it and everything. Well, I was like, all right, so that's it. So I guess they're going to lose this case. You know what I mean? Here we turn around. Next thing you know, Annalise calls in a surprise witness. And in the door walks Mr. Carpet Muncher. He happens to be the lieutenant of the precinct that's handling the stuff, all the evidence in that. He walks in the door and says to her, what is this about? What the hell is this about? And she just looks at him. Cold, cold, cold. Okay? Wes's mouth drops open like, what the fuck is going on? She puts him on the stand. She questions him. She goes real deep with it. Where were you at 2 nights ago? Whenever this, that thing, and the other, when all this video surveillance footage was turned in, and this, that, and the other, and why is there a lapse in time from 7 till 2 in the morning, getting this in there? And he's like, oh, you know, sometimes we have a hard time getting it in, this, that, and the other. She basically questioned him down, went all the way as deep as to say, were you actually there? Because you were supposed to be working overtime and being in charge. Were you there? Were you there? And he's like, no, I wasn't. And she's like, oh, because see, I know that your wife just got diagnosed with cancer not long ago. Maybe you had stayed and you were doing something with your wife, or were you with your wife? And he says, no, I wasn't with my wife. And she says, oh, so where were you? And he's like, with a friend. Now I'm laughing at this bitch, because this bitch know good and well 2 days ago he was playing with the little man in the boat. Hers had his head buried in her goddamn lap. And she kept going. And she says, you know, so you're supposed to be at work. Your wife is sick, but you're out visiting friends and such. Did I say I love this bitch? I loved her. She is just so ruthless. So she basically went on, and then she goes into the question, and they said, they were going to shut her down, like, girl, you're doing too much. And she says, well, can you tell me, is there ever been a time that you know of that your precinct has ever been in a position where they have done any type of tampering with video surveillance footage to win a case or to convict a person? And he had to answer yes. He answered yes. She will use everything and body to win. My kind of bitch. I'll be tuned in every week. Anyway, moving on. So, Wes says to her, what is that? Like, what was that? You literally made him perjure himself. This, that, thing, and the other. And she's like, whatever. And he's like, what is going on? She's like, listen, we won the case, and they won the case. We won the case because I did my job. And that was the third rule that she taught them. You inundate them at that point. The third thing is inundate the jury with so much evidence that the original defense is just questionable. And they did that. And they won. Okay, so here, you know what it was. The woman, the assistant and the wife was in it all together. They was in it together. And they pinned the shit over on the guy who was the damn partner. But anyway, and he was basically in it with them too. But anyway, moving on. So she ends up choosing her 4 people. She chose Michaela, she chose Laurel, and she chose Connor and Wes. Wes approaches her and tells her, I don't want the job. I don't want the job. I don't want the job because I know that little secret. And she said, if that's how you feel about yourself, then you don't even deserve the job because I didn't give you the job because of that. I don't care about that. I gave you the job because you think well on your feet. And that was the truth. He doesn't even realize how good he is. He is a really great man, but he just doesn't realize it. So this is kind of where we're going. So those are the 4 interns. Okay. Now, all while this is going on, that's all basically 3 months prior. Okay. Present day, present time. There's a background plot that they were building all throughout the show that kept going back and forth. All throughout the show, we're seeing the students struggling and smuggling this body around, okay? And it's like during like a Greek festival or whatever, and they're smuggling and struggling with this body and trying to decide if they're going to bury it in the ground or if they're going to burn it, because burning it will take care of all the DNA and all of that. So I'm laughing at them, turn around, here you end up, there's a murder on campus. And you see it on the news. Professor Keating and Professor Keating, both of them, Annalise and her husband, are sitting there. And she's looking at her husband like, what's going on? And he's telling her, you know, the girl that they found in the water tank, that's one of my students. And she says, you know, she sat down with her little smug way and said, I bet the boyfriend did it. Funny. So, at any rate, she turns around, and that was that. So now we know she's going to be working on that case. That's basically what's going to be going on throughout this season. We're going to be watching this case as it unfolds. Now, I don't know what involvement these 4 students, you know, the 4 interns have with this case, but they definitely got something to do with it because their asses is carting their damn body around. And I kept saying, what the hell, why are they having such a hard time carrying this body? And I'm figuring, I said, no, you know what, dead weight is very heavy. So I guess it's that girl that they got out of the water tank, I guess before she got it in there. I guess they're the ones that threw it in there. That's not what it was, people. You see, right before we go out for the week, the body that they're fucking carrying around and ended up setting on fire was Annalise Keating's husband. Now, you guys can thumbs up or you can thumbs down this video. Please leave me comments. Let me know if you all are going to be watching. I'm going to be watching. I am definitely going to be watching. I am in love with this show. Do you hear me? That's I get a whole side eye, a whole goddamn mess. Very scandal-like. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, guys. So that's where I'm going to end this. I will see you guys next week for How to Get Away with Murder. I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. Leave comments down at the bottom. Bye.